You don't build a 7-figure construction company just by working 100 hours every day and driving an F-250 for work. Obviously, that's a big part of it. But the reality is not that when you start. In this video, I will be showing you step by step how I grew my construction company to $3 million in 1 year and how you can do it as well. The process of a company always starts with a dream. It didn't start for me as I'm gonna be rich off of construction. It was just, let's be honest, I couldn't keep a goddamn job. When you open a company, it's a side job. It's not actually a company. You're still learning what a company means. So when you start the company, the first question that comes into mind is clients. How do you get that first client and how you get to repeat that? In my case, my first client was literally my neighbor. They closed on that house. I was part of the closing because they had a couple of electrical issues with some fixtures. Since he saw me there, literally when I got out of his house, I went to have lunch to my house next door. And your first client doesn't have to be far away from you. Similar to me, it could be your neighbor, somebody across the street, just down the street from you. They just gotta know what you do. People don't hire people they don't know. They first gotta hear about you. They need to know about you. They need to know what you do. Something at the very early stage of my business, I find out that I didn't have a direct message to a client. When they asked me what did I do, I said electrical, but it's a lot of things that go with electrical. Just make sure that when you speak to those first clients is that you know exactly what it is that you do. Now, assuming that you did a great job to that one customer, that one customer can get you into more work. Word of mouth at the very beginning is probably your best bet, just because the neighbor of a neighbor is always your friend. You never know how many people that person knows. So doing a great job for every customer, but especially for those few first, is very important. That's your reputation. You're gonna start building that reputation. You gotta make sure that you're satisfying every client that is coming to you at this point, because otherwise you will be out of business very quick. That starts running out. It gets to a point that word of mouth already went through your neighborhood and you haven't been able to get out of there, or you don't have another way to attract any other customer outside the area where they know you. Now, once a company is fully set up, you made your first 1,000, you're making as much as you made in a week, in a couple of days, or even in a day. Don't get greedy. That's probably the worst spot you can be at, because then at this point, you never had that much money before, and then when it's presented to you, you're probably blowing it on a lot of useless things. Don't get greedy. Remember, for your business to grow, you're going to need money. Either you like it or not, you're gonna have to spend money you might not have or you had just put together. Now that your baby has grown a little, I will recommend you, because I made this mistake myself, to actually start hiring help sooner than you need it. Start hiring sooner when you're getting those leads and you're starting to get that work. You know you're eventually going to need them. Start that process a little earlier. Not too fucking early, because then you'll go broke. Okay, so if you start a business and then you hire somebody because they're doing the shit you don't know how to do, then you're not in the right time to start the business. You gotta be able to at least do one craft, one skill, and do it correctly by yourself without needing any help before you can call that a business. But let's say that's you. You have the skill, you are a great plumber, and you can do pretty much anything to do with plumbing by yourself. But then at this point, you're on baby steps, you're happy doing $10,000, $15,000 a month worth of work by yourself. Money started to come in, people started to notice it, and then you go, oh shit, I have a big job, but I don't have the people to do it. Let me hire, every other guy I knew that all the other companies didn't want. Guess what? Your company doesn't need them either. You need to start the vetting process of hiring your first workers as what it is. It's a business. You can't treat your workers as your friends. Either if they are or not, during business hours, they are your help and you are their boss. You have to start creating this relationship with the people that work with you. Then yes, we tease each other on the job, we call apprentices names, we do all of this shit. But at the end of the day, we only do that when we care. When we don't care, we just fire them, right? So you need to start that process sooner than the jobs require it. So by the time the jobs start coming in, you have enough people to fulfill those jobs. Now, at this point, you're starting with the baby steps of an actual business. Baby steps of an actual business for me is when you start doing $30,000 to $40,000 a month. You're still a baby, but now you have to worry about other things that are not necessarily to do with the tools. If you guys are finding this video useful, we do have an online community where we do live coaching and group calls and really walk you step by step on your construction business of where you want it to be. The link for that is on the description. You're gonna have to start working a little bit more on your leads. Now, how do you get those next clients once you start hiring people and you have 2 guys working with you and then you're still on the tools and you don't have time to go hassle these people? Something that I did is that every house I worked, I didn't care where I was. I could have been, now I'm in Arizona, so if I was in Scottsdale or Queen Creek or Santan Valley or I'm in Tolleson, it didn't matter where I was. I was dropping off my cards all around the neighborhood. So I would finish the job and I would say, you know what, I got 45 minutes to go grab a little bit of painter's tape and put my business card or a flyer on the neighbor's doors. That was working out at first, right? As we started scaling, even that became a little hard to do. You gotta learn to show people around where you're working, who you are and what do you do. Clients will start coming in that direction, so now you stop being word of mouth for everything you do. You start becoming word of mouth plus your effort on knocking on doors and getting your business known around all the areas you work at. But then the problem is you can't be on the field all the time. Now that you have a baby step company and you're starting to do $30,000, $40,000 every month, now you have to worry about taxes, you have to worry about payroll, you have to worry about vendors payments, you have to worry about, credit card payments, you have to worry about possibly you have a truck at this point, you have to worry about the truck payment, the insurance on the business, you have to worry about the ink on your printer, you have to worry about the paper in your office, the envelopes you send all the checks on. The list goes on the back end of the office. I tried this myself and believe me, it's not enough goddamn hours in a day as organized as I thought I was at the beginning. I learned very rapidly that I was not very good at managing my time. So I was always running like a chicken with my head cut off. Weekends or week didn't matter to me. Every day was a Monday. And holidays to me were birthdays. Very soon I realized that my time was being consumed by the business and working in the business versus working on the business. I call on the business on my systems, from the accounting section of it, from the schedule point of it. Where do we send the guys every day? Do I have enough work to keep the guys busy for the next 12 months? Where are my trucks at? Where are my service for the trucks required? Do we have any dates for this? So instead of working in the business, I went on the business. And I started creating systems so where I always knew when my trucks needed to get work done. I always knew when I was going to start running out of things in the office. Things started becoming simpler because they were a little more automated for me, but I couldn't run both sides. And then that's when I realized, oh shit, I have to get rid of control on what happens in the office. So now, when did I hire the first person to work in my office? It was $40,000 to $50,000 a month. That's when I needed help on the back end of the business. Now, when you become a business owner, there's a lot of things that you got to learn on your own. It's a lot of things that you need to be taught, right? So taxes for me was a hard one. Obviously, by my accent, probably you already know, I wasn't born here. I wasn't brought up into the tax system that it is in the United States. So as my business started to grow, that's something I needed to learn. So then I started looking for the proper CPA, the proper accountant to help me with some of these things. And you're gonna find a lot of bad ones in the process while you're trying to bet the right one. But you start to learn what a write-off is. You start learning what to do with your income instead of keeping it for yourself. You start learning how investments can start working towards your tax goals. You start learning about the strategy when it comes to taxes, but then you have payroll, or you have 1099 workers, or you have W-2s. Are you gonna be buying trucks that are over 6,000 pounds, or are you gonna be buying cars under 6,000 pounds? Are you gonna lease them? Are you gonna buy them? I mean, it's so many things that go into the back end of the business to make sure that the profits stay with you. As people will say for companies, well, big companies like to cheat on taxes. No, we don't like to cheat on taxes. We like to pay our fair share. But those benefits are there for a reason. Not only are we providing people with work, but the amount of stuff that we buy on a regular basis starts becoming stupid after $40,000, $50,000 a month. Once you start growing that company and now you went from 2 or 3 of you to 6 or 12 of you, the amount of trucks, materials, labor, costs that goes into the business gets harder and harder to hit, right? So that's why you have to be very good at start getting new clients, having a sales team. See, the bigger you get, the more BS is needed in the back end of the company. Once you start growing out of this pace that you have, you're gonna notice that more people are needed. And now you can't be the only one selling. Now you're gonna need help on even that part. Do the advertisement part. Somebody has to be in charge of the sales. Somebody has to be in charge of the invoicing. Somebody has to be in charge of the collection. Somebody's in charge of your bookkeeping. Then you start filling up all these positions that allow your business to run. Once you have all these people in place, it's not very hard to go from $50,000 a month to go to $100,000 a month. It takes a little time, but it's not complicated. It's just repeating itself and doing it at a bigger scale. Once the scale starts to grow, you probably haven't seen tools in a few months by now. Sometimes I do the quality control just because I still like to be in the field, and sometimes I like to be on the tools and I like to be one of the guys. I still miss getting yelled by all those guys when I started as an electrician. Maloso, this is for you. But it's not my place anymore. Even when I'm there, I'm out of place. Why? Because everybody around me is watching what they say because the boss show up, right? And I don't like that, but it's just the way it is. Repetition on your quality, repetition on your consistency, repetition on your sales and on your sales team. The fact that you're contacting all these clients back after you do a job just to make sure that you did a great job, that they're satisfied with what you did, is gonna be something helping you moving forward. As you start getting better at your job, now as a CEO or an owner of the business, you're gonna need somebody helping you on that part too. Then we go to the next stage. Now, to get to $3 million a year, you're gonna be hitting roughly $300,000 of sales a month. By the time you start hitting the numbers, your office staff has to be very good on keeping track on what's the company expense, what does the company spend to be alive every month, and what the actual profits are. When people complain about a contractor being expensive, I always ask, what's the size of the company? The bigger the company, the higher the expense. As you can see on this video, it's not only one thing that we concentrate on. At the beginning, it's all fun and games. And believe me, I wish I was back, 18 years ago and on my little S10 with a generator, ladders, and, with my brother and working with a neighbor and, doing the little things that at that point I thought it was the best thing I could do. That dream grew and grew to many different opportunities that we had, from many names that we have had as companies and many other states we have worked at, and all these other projects we have done as a company have only taught me that not only didn't I know anything, I have so much room to grow. If you find this video helpful, please subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments, and I hope to see you guys on the field.